A confession is that I have gotten behind on some of my curious faith questions. They're starting to pile up. And I want to make sure that I fulfill my promise to engage all of them. And as a matter of fact, sometimes I find that there are questions that have a lot in common, and so maybe I can group them together. And I felt like today was a great opportunity because not only were the questions similar, but the context of our worship really speaks to these questions. And so I received 4 separate questions, and the more that I sat with them, the more I realized that they really are maybe one question asked in 4 different ways. And they were this: what is our relationship to the Holy Spirit? How can we better recognize the feeling of trust in ourselves as opposed to pride or indifference? Did you hear a little bit of that in that message there? How can we feel Spirit guiding us without feeling that it is thinking for us? A little separation of, is God controlling our actions and things, or do we have free will in some of this? And I know this one sounds like it doesn't fit with all of them, but it does fit with where we're headed. Why did Jesus have to die? Tough question. So what I hear is, how do I know the difference between my voice and God's voice? And what does it mean to follow the one that isn't mine? Does that make sense? And so we start with that Holy Spirit question. The Holy Spirit, this ongoing active presence of God that is with us and around us even before we're aware of it, what we call prevenient grace, the Holy Spirit's presence among us, already here, already at work, already nudging us in directions that God intends for us. And so if the Spirit is already thinking alongside with us, how do I know it's not just thinking for me, is the next part of the question. Well, we don't understand that this Holy Spirit is this GPS that has a set route for you to follow and that you should follow it. And every time that you don't do it, it just says beep, 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 redirect, 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 and that we follow without our thoughts. The Spirit works with us, alongside of us. The walking is still ours. The decisions are still ours. We may end up in a place that the Holy Spirit doesn't intend for us to be. Have any of you had that experience? You don't have to raise your hands. But we do also recognize that there are moments in our lives that we can sense that persistent, maybe even quiet nudging, pulling us back into questions we'd rather not answer, places that maybe are places that we fear going to, questions we'd rather close than open to ourselves. And that's also what I think causes us to move into that other question about trust versus pride versus indifference. Because our pride is loud, right? Our egos are loud. We want to be right. And indifference is a place of peace that is comfortable in inaction or an absence of moving upon it. It doesn't cost us anything. Trust, real trust, goes beyond that loud pride and that quiet indifference. It moves us towards something rather than away from it. So a question that I think might be helpful for this is does this feeling invite me into something, or does it excuse me from something? The Spirit keeps us asking us to engage more honestly than fear would have us engage or not engage. So that lands us with this 4th question: why did Jesus have to die? And I hope this summarizes all of this. By the way, this has been debated for 2,000 years. I don't plan to answer it with one simple answer. But many of us grew up that, well, sin created a debt, right? That's been a theology that has been around for a long time. And Jesus paid this debt by giving his life. And that has been meaningful to a lot of people. But quite honestly, I don't think that's the whole picture. And sometimes it creates this distorted understanding of who God is, one who requires suffering before God can offer forgiveness, or a transaction instead of a relationship, right? So I don't believe that Jesus died because God required a sacrifice, but that Jesus died because he lived in the way that he did. One that was different than what the world thought he should live. He announced a kingdom that threatened the power of his world. He touched people that others said you're not supposed to touch. He sat at tables with people that were told that we're not supposed to be sitting with. He told stories that exposed power to the powerful. And he rode towards Jerusalem, knowing exactly what was waiting for him, because he trusted something deeper. So the cross was really an end that became the intersection of God's love and God's direction with a world that didn't tolerate it, if that makes sense. And the resurrection is God's declaration that the power that does the things that God does not intend doesn't get the last word. That loving action of Jesus does. So here it is. The Spirit moves in us, not to think for us, but to make us more available to something that even moves us beyond our fears. Learning to recognize this is really the experience of the season of Lent, a time to separate ourselves from pride and indifference and to be in a place of prayer and listening and community and self-examination and examining the Word. And Jesus models all of this all the way to Jerusalem. And he didn't let fear make his decisions. He didn't bury things that he was given. He trusted fully. And that's what the Spirit is always inviting us towards, to trust it, to hear it, to be guided by it.